Hi, everybody. Angel here. I hope you're doing great. And today I am super excited to speak with Bill. And we will get started very soon. Hope you all are doing great wherever you are in the world. And here we go. Hi
Oh, there
there.
we are. Hi.
How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Awesome. Thank you. Konnichiwa.
Konnichiwa.
I I have your book and I haven't finished it, but I'm kind of skipping around and I saw that you speak Japanese and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so
I
exciting."
do. Should we do this interview in Japanese?
No, 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 because I only know like ten words and phrases, so that won't get me far.
I'm very rusty, so it would be a clunky experiment to do.
Yeah, so I might fumble my way through at least 5 minutes. That would be cool. I want to say hi to everybody who's joining. Thank you so much for joining. And please let us know where you're tuning in from. That's always cool to know where people are in the world. And also, of course, I want to thank Bill for taking the time to come on and chat. I know everyone is super busy, and we have a comment here. Wanted to do the interview in Japanese.
We could do it.
No, no,
Arigato.
no, not today, not today. No, 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 no. I only did conversation level 1 because
Ah,
there were not enough students to go to level 2. So there you go. And we have a hello from the UK. Awesome. All right. Well, listen, Bill, we have a lot to chit chat about. So I think we should just jump right in.
we do. We do.
Awesome. So, Bill, if you would please, well, first of all, I discovered you through Clubhouse
Oh, wow.
uh,
Clubhouse.
some time ago, and I heard you speak, and I was like, oh my gosh, he has like a totally interesting journey. And so then I found you on Instagram, and I was like, cool. Well, let me just put you on my list to have chit chats with. And I would love for you to please share with us, first of all, your vegan journey, how you started and how you ended up to where you are today, please.
Sure. Well, for anyone who's gone through my Instagram or read my book, you could see that I went vegan kind of by accident. And by accident, I mean when I started becoming vegetarian, I didn't even know the word vegan. So rewind to 1992. I was let me see, was I a freshman? I was a freshman in college, and my mom asked me what I was going to give up for Lent. So background on me, very, very Catholic parents. So asked me what I was going to give up for Lent, and I was thinking, a 19-year-old punk rock kid, very like rebellious, and I was like, what could I tell my mom that would really like get her? And I said, okay, Catholics don't eat meat one day of the week during Lent or during Lent, that
On
period of
Fridays
40
or on
days
Fridays,
on
right?
Friday.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, I won't eat meat during Lent at all. And people's minds exploded. People actually told me like, nice knowing you, like
Oh,
expected to be visiting me in the hospital,
oh,
which now we think is funny
yeah.
and kind of like ridiculous. But
Mm.
then even the family doctor thought I was going to get sick. He was like, we should do like blood tests every week. People thought that I was going to get really sick because I didn't know other vegetarians. Obviously I didn't even know the word vegan. And just by accidentally doing that, not doing that for health, because everyone said I was going to get sick, especially the doctor, and not doing it, knowing anything about the awfulness of factory farming. In fact, my dad was a hunter, so I'd gone hunting as a kid, and that was kind of like normal. Just doing it to do it. And then one day I was at a punk rock show, and I got a flyer about factory farming,
Wow.
and I started to put the two together. I was like, have I started to accidentally do something good? Because for me, the whole point of punk rock was trying to make the world a better place, and I guess make loud music. And I thought, wow, this is awesome. That somehow, like, as a 19-year-old, there's not much you can really do to affect the world, but in a small way, I was doing something that actually mattered in it. And I thought, oh, that's kind of nice. So when people asked me at the end of the 40 days, was I going to start eating meat again? I was like, you know what? I'm just going to see what happens, because obviously I hadn't died. I felt pretty good. At that point, I was a college wrestler and still able to work out, zero problems. Vegetarian, but not vegan. Then that summer, going into summer after my freshman year in college, I got a hold of yet another flyer, again from PETA, but there was no internet, so it wasn't like I could just Google where things came from, and it was about the dairy industry and how awful it was, and it went into my brain, and I started just thinking about how awful it was, but I was like, well, somehow I've been able to manage the vegetarian thing. Now that I heard the word vegan, it just seemed like too extreme and crazy. I don't know if I would be able to handle that. But then the more it started to gestate in my brain, the more I just thought, like, okay, how much animal cruelty am I okay with? And I just came to the conclusion, I was like, well, 0%, zero animal cruelty. And if I'm going to have a cheese sandwich, I might as well make it a cheeseburger, because the meat and dairy industry are linked. And so at August of 1992, almost 30 years ago, I made that choice. I just said, well, I guess that's the end of enjoying pizza and cheese, but you know what, if that's what it has to be, that's what it has to be. And it's just so wonderful that things have kind of slowly come around. Like if I had been born 100 years ago or even 50 years ago, I wouldn't have been able to see that. But to be able to see these changes kind of coming toward where we are, instead of us having to change, with the world and just give in, it's super awesome.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so interesting that you found you started finding this through music, because I have heard other people say that they found it through like the rock movement and all of that. So kudos to them. I mean, the music might not be everyone's taste, but that kind of message is everyone's taste for sure. I mean, I know some of us are still stuck on the standard mainstream lifestyle, but I mean, I just want to applaud them for that. And I can relate, because in my first year of university, I stumbled across a book in a health food store, because I was always in a health and I stumbled across a vegetarian book in a health food store, and I was like, great, oh yeah, I'm gonna go vegetarian. Yeah, I mean, because I didn't know anything about vegan either. And so I went vegetarian, and then I went home for the holidays, and there was such like consternation about my diet, and oh my gosh, no, you have to eat meat. No, you can't stay on this. No. So I caved, and I went back to eating everything else. And it wasn't until like a few years later, for health reasons, that I went vegetarian again, this time calling myself vegetarian pescatarian. And then it took me over 20 years to go vegan, through someone taking me to a vegan restaurant in a totally different country. So it for me, it took a super long time, but I can definitely understand like the resistance and the critiques and the hand wringing, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to you? So I want to applaud you for jumping in, because it wasn't easy way back when.
No, it certainly wasn't easy. And I know it sounds weird, especially I would guess most of the people, especially most people that I know now, don't listen to like punk rock music or whatever. But I think that maybe not so much the music, but that attitude of, if you think something's right, you should do it, no matter how inconvenient it is or uncomfortable it might make other people feel. And because I was just in that mindset to begin with, and I was taking sociology classes and started to realize, the inequality that's baked into our American system and stuff like that. So I was my brain was ready for change, or at least to say like, okay, I'm going to question how I've been raised, and I'm going to, from now on, I'm going to do the things that I think are right, or at least make sense to me, and not just follow what I've been told, and just accept everything carte blanche, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I love your V mug, by the way. V for
Well, thank
vegan.
you.
There we go. So tell us, please. Well, first of all, I want to say hi to everybody out there. Please put your questions and comments down below for Bill, and he'll be happy to answer as we go along. And thanks for joining. And so, Bill, tell us, please, what were some of the changes that you experienced when you went vegan?
So people ask me that all the time, and physically, none really, because I was a healthy 19-year-old before, and I was a healthy 19-year-old after, and now I'm 49. So there weren't any changes after going vegetarian, really. And I didn't have weight to lose, and I wasn't on a diet, so I was eating enough calories.
Right.
You know, the main thing that changed was before I was eating like a standard American, like a healthier version of standard American. And then I started eating basically whole foods, plant-based, but not by choice. I would certainly have eaten all the Gardein, all the any kind of vegan chocolate, whatever.
Yes, yes.
If it existed, I would have eaten it. But since it didn't exist, I was like, okay, what? Now that all that's off the table, and you only have to have a few sauce pizzas to be, at least in my opinion, turned off to having pizza with no cheese thing. I mean, I would still eat it, but like it wouldn't be my go-to. So it just ended up opening me up to other cuisines. I probably wouldn't have wanted to try falafel. I wouldn't have been interested in Indian food. I might not have been interested in Japanese food or going to Chinese restaurants as much as I did, because back in the day, that was, if you wanted to eat something not meat,
yes,
those were some of the go-tos. And it opened my mind, I think, to a lot of other food. But as far as, physiologically, I was in great shape and a runner at that point, and then nothing really changed. And now I'm still in good shape. So, as far as I know, other people that I'm friends with have that great story of they were 1,700 pounds overweight, and then they went vegan, and now they're a marathon runner, and a millionaire. And I was like a normal kid before, and I'm a normal guy now. And right after it was, there was nothing significantly different. I guess for people who are on the fence, maybe that could be some a bit of light if you're thinking of making that change, and that it won't be that scary. For other people want that, like, oh my goodness, this is crazy that this happened. And, it's unfortunately, it's not a super great story in that my transition was like, I was already vegetarian and really not eating that many dairy products because, I don't know, Greek yogurt and cottage cheese and stuff like that, it just has a really weird funk. So it was just a kind of I guess the biggest thing, if there was any health benefits, was I would have probably eaten more cookies. But, at that point, even Oreos weren't vegan. So I just stopped eating cookies. I remember one day going home, picking up a package of oatmeal cookies that my mom had bought, and they had fish gelatin in them. And I just thought how crazy it is. I was like, these aren't even vegetarian. There's fish in these cookies. But I mean, to my mom's credit, it's not like she went out and was like, which cookies have fish in them?
No. It's lurking everywhere.
Yeah, no one's gonna make that. That's just ugh.
Wow. Well, I mean, I'm happy that you didn't have any health challenges because, right. I mean, you're one of what I would call the lucky ones because unfortunately, I have met a lot of people who did have health challenges.
What kind of health challenges when starting did they have?
Some have had heart issues, diabetes.
Oh, you mean they were unhealthy? And
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, as an RN, I can tell you and the viewers, at least in this country, people are literally eating themselves into the hospital. There's a lot of diseases and a lot of problems and a lot of health issues that people have that would not be diet related, but the main ones that are killing us, the diabetes, obesity, cardiac issues, are usually diet related.
Yes.
I mean, you could, if you think of yourself as a machine, if you give a machine the right energy, you know, you could go. Might not be able to go forever, but you could go, you know, effectively pretty long. But if you just abuse the machine that is your body, you know, it's gonna affect you. I guess in healthcare we would say holistically. It'll probably mess in your brain up too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, well, first of all, you know this, but I'm just going to say it anyway. I mean, like our gut is called our second brain. If we're not, for example, getting the right fiber content, and most people on the standard diet are way under in their fiber requirements or their recommended fiber levels because, animal content doesn't even have fiber. That's the first thing. And secondly, a lot of the processed food doesn't have the fiber anymore. So, there's that. And then at least in the US, a third of the population is overweight. Another third is obese. So that leaves only about a third in what we call a normal range. So of course we're going to have these issues.
Replying to Alejandro, yeah, in defense of all life, totally agree. I mean, it's just unnecessary to kill things in order to survive in 2022. Maybe
agree.
1,000 years ago, maybe Bill, who was like a caveman or like a Viking or something.
Yeah.
I could see that. I mean, however, when people bring up what happens if you're on a desert island with a pig? What happens if you're stranded on Mars? All right, I'm going to wait till that happens, and then we'll see what happens, But right here, right now, in the society, in the world we live in, so I just don't understand why people would be living like they're in the zombie apocalypse now. Zombie apocalypse, comes, obviously, I'm military background. I'm going to, put away all this peace and love stuff, and it'll be like Walking Dead, But in a normal society, why not defend all life, like Alejandro is saying? It just makes no sense why people would be already in kind of survival mode when they should be thinking about the survival of all life, survival of the planet,
right?
Taking care of those less fortunate, taking care of the animals. I don't know, but
No, go ahead.
Something I've learned as working in healthcare, that it's impossible to know everything, and this is yet another thing I will not fully ever understand.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when people come up with the desert island question, my thing is, if you're asking me, if there's only, the example you gave, if there's only a pig, will you eat the pig? I'm like, no, I'm going to eat what the pig's eating. The pig is eating plant food. So for me, I'm just going to go munch on whatever the pig's eating. Like, I have no need to, eat the pig. Like, I don't even understand that. I mean, I know that they're trying to obfuscate and deflect and avoid and stay on their on their attachments to the standard diet. I know what they're doing, but my thing is, whatever the animal's eating, hey, I'm eating that too, because they're eating plants. They're not eating other animals.
Yeah, the Walking Dead scenario, the zombie apocalypse scenario. It's not real. It's not going to happen. What is going to happen?
I love that.
Is you go to the supermarket and you have to buy food. What do you buy? That's the only scenario. Do you buy the thing that if it was rotting outside on the ground, the squirrel, the dead squirrel, the rain over, whatever, would you eat it? When you smell it, it makes you nauseous. Or would you have the sanitized version of the same thing, but it's still rotting and doing that? And unhealthy, and obviously causes cancer. Or would you eat something healthy? Then if we're talking about healthy levels of health, obviously carrot and spinach and broccoli is going to have less possible problems than eating a vegan chocolate or a Beyond Burger.
Yeah.
There's different levels of things that are healthy.
Yeah.
Just like there's different levels of unhealthy. But you know, I guess to end that tangent, I just don't understand. I mean, I guess I do understand. Change is hard.
Yeah.
I'll admit change is hard, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, you know, everybody's journey is going to be different. Mine, like I said, I thought about being vegan. Nobody was pushing me. If anything, people were pushing me to not do it.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? This is what the right thing to do is. So I'm going to do it. And I did it. And that's the end. But that's not going to be everybody's journey. And I think understanding that, you know, as vegans, we want to talk about vegans and sometimes, you know, things vegans do or project in a way that they shouldn't. Sometimes the worst thing about veganism can be other vegans. And we have to acknowledge that sometimes people can be too pushy. And it's hard because we're human beings. We're social creatures. And it's hard to see someone doing awful things to the world, to animals, to themselves, and not want to say something. But unfortunately, you know, the way the mind and body works, sometimes it's better to try to do a live and let live, in my opinion, and just let other factors like, you know, society, let Netflix documentaries do the talking for you, especially when it's your family members, because
it's very delicate.
Yeah, you don't want to cut off your family members. That makes no sense. You know, that's one of the most important things, going to be the most important things in your life, your mom and your dad and everyone in your family. So, you know, I have friends who have thought that that's the right thing to do, to like do the liberation pledge, not eat with others.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly disagree. I think staying involved with people is much better.
Yeah. I just had this conversation today, actually, in an interview. And someone else was interviewing me about forgiveness, and you know, and someone in the audience wrote that they don't eat with anyone who is consuming animals. And I said, oh yeah, that's like the liberation pledge. So thank you for bringing that up. And you know, so I have a sneaky way of doing it. I send recipes over. I send photos of beautiful plant-based vegan dishes, and so I kind of like sneak it in with my inner circle, because it is very delicate, you know, in terms of like the animal cruelty and the planet. Like some people just don't want to hear it. They just are like, you know, they block it out, or they will, you know, blame the messenger. And believe me, I went through my phase of getting up on my soapbox and talking about the animals and the planet and our health. And I was just like, I had my pom-poms and everything, basically. And, you know, I mean, I was told that I did it in a pretty nice way, so it wasn't offensive. However, for some people, I probably rubbed them the wrong way. So now I'm kind of going the food route with certain people, and just basically showering them with vegan food, and to see if that'll kind of sway them, you know? And I had some really good, I just want to say, I had one person who was super tough in my inner circle, and she responded, now that's the kind of recipe that I could really see would really be doable. And I thought, all right, so I think I'm making progress here.
No, that's totally the way to go. I couldn't agree more. And I'm glad to hear you haven't rubbed anyone the wrong way with it, because when I talk to people, especially vegans, about it, the fact that it's better to interface with people in a positive way versus a negative. Yeah. I'm speaking from personal experience. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I've rubbed hundreds of people the wrong way. Mm-hmm. Was I saying the right thing? I'm sure I was saying the right thing. Was I saying it in the right way? I'm sure I was not. Like,
it's hard.
What do we got? It feels good to hear people leaving the same things. Thank you. It's difficult to live among non-vegans, you know, when you don't push them. No, agree. Yeah, and I'm positive that I was doing it the wrong way. I was turning more people off. I don't have any excuse for it other than, well, being young too. You're young.
Very passionate about
it. To be more abrasive in the beginning, at least.
I call it passionate.
I was certainly more abrasive, and I thought that would be the right thing. But if I learned anything from all those years of like standing there with the signs and the meat is murder or whatever, it just doesn't work. If it did, it would be awesome if it did, but it doesn't. Unfortunately, we have to acknowledge as a movement that kind of stuff never really worked. Just standing there with the sign or yelling at people, but instead that involvement, that, like you're saying, bringing delicious food, that getting people out of their shell. Because when you attack somebody, most people are gonna, defend themselves. That's a normal thing. At bare minimum, even if they don't defend themselves, they'll curl up in a ball on the ground. And that's not a conversation. And the only way for this to get through to people is to have a conversation or to get people involved, but when people feel attacked or threatened, even if it's for their own good, unfortunately, it's not going to get to people.
Yeah. We have a comment: to choose a vegan lifestyle is to lead with compassion. So I agree, we need to continue to talk to others who choose to eat meat because it demonstrates our pledge to compassion. Yeah, I agree. Keep the lines of communication open, because if it shuts down, it's going to be harder to reach them, to tap into, because I think everyone has a spot like where they're gonna react. Like for some it's animals, some it's the planet, some it's health, some it's spiritual, political, etc. So I think everyone has their little I guess key to, like a certain key to open that door of understanding or awakening. That's how I see it.
Very true. Totally agree.
Yeah. So please keep your questions and comments coming here for Bill. And while we wait, Bill, please tell us about your books. I have your Vegan Strong book, which I'm getting through. I want to applaud you for two things that I've noticed so far, and I haven't finished it. So, but one is I like that you include, other people's voices in it. So like, in interviews, content from other people. It's not just your voice, quote unquote, in the book. And secondly, your sense of humor is like, I was like laughing out loud for some of the parts. I won't say what I don't want to, like, spoiler alert or anything, but yeah, I want to applaud you. I mean, those are 2 points that I've picked up on so far. Besides the fact that, yes, you have this book out there, and your topics are super cool as well, So anyway, please tell us, what do you want us to know about your books, please?
So I have 2 books and a third on the way.
Awesome.
So first book is called Vegan Strong, and it is the field manual for vegan living. My idea behind the book, the concept was, if I could put everything that I might need to know to be successful on a vegan diet and put it in a time capsule and sent it to myself at 19. What would I want? And what would I want to know? So, recipes on how to cook, because there were no fake meats back then.
No.
How to make seitan, things like that, which weirdly, now that all this exists, I'm starting to get back into eating seitan, and lately I've been experimenting with soy curls and stuff like that, versus just eating the brand new stuff we have.
Right.
And the other book is called The Adventures of Sergeant Piggy, and my reasoning behind doing a kid's book, because Adventures of Sergeant Piggy is a kid's book, is I was like, okay, how do I follow up Vegan Strong? And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something for kids. And then after looking at vegan books for kids, they were all kind of sad and mopey. And
really,
being vegan is, it's not a sad Debbie Downer thing. You're trying to make the world a better place. You're eating delicious food and you're having a great life. And when people try to sell, like, kind of old school kind of vegan propaganda, in that, like, oh, woe is me, I'm a martyr, and life is so bad. Don't you want to have a miserable life with me? Man, that sucks. And as a kid, why make it look like life is awful and that
I
being
agree.
vegan is some kind of misery, like suck
The
fest? So,
opposite. It's the opposite for me.
exactly. So Adventures of Sergeant Piggy, instead of all that kind of Debbie Downer kid stuff, I wanted it, to be fun and exciting for kids. And in 2020, we weren't traveling.
No.
It was a little bit bleak if you were a kid, I think.
Oof. Very
So
hard for children. They didn't understand, they just were not aware of the whole picture like we were. And we don't even at least I can speak for myself. I still don't understand fully. But anyway, that's another story.
mm. Book number 3, I'm putting out, hopefully, in August in celebration of my 30th
30
vegan birthday.
years.
And it's going to be dystopian science fiction about veganism.
Ooh,
Uh,
interesting.
and I've decided to go kind of a dark route. It's going to be kind of, well, I mean, it's going to be about animal agriculture and how violent and awful it is, but it's going to be fiction. So I'm hoping people will be up for an action horror adventure that's a little bit bleak.
And are you thinking maybe to make it into a movie? Because it sounds like it could be a movie.
I would love it to be. So the book is going to be called Dead Meat.
Ooh, boy. Ooh.
And it's going to be something. It's
Oof,
definitely going to
yeah.
be something new
Yeah.
that people have never seen before. Well, I remember when I was watching Okja. I'm sure most of our viewers have seen Okja. When it came out, I thought, man, this would be great if the protagonist was actually vegetarian. Because she wasn't, and if you watch, like, yeah, she cares about her pet, but they're not trying to stop factory farming or anything like that, except for her pet. I love that movie for what it was. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about it. We'll see. It's just in the final editing stages, and we're finalizing the cover as well. So
Wow. That's really cool. I mean, the whole the title is an expression, I guess you could say, that people are used to hearing.
yep.
So I think that it will be I hate to say it, but some people would say it would be catchy, but I do think like it could be like a huge draw for people.
It could be. It's going to be something. It's going to be something that people haven't seen. But we'll see how it goes. This will be my first like novel. Vegan Strong is nonfiction. Eventually,
Yeah.
Sergeant Piggy is fiction, but it's a kid's book. So this
Yeah.
is going to be my dive into writing actual fiction. So we'll see how it goes. I mean, obviously, fingers crossed.
Awesome. Well, congratulations in
Thank you.
advance. Yeah. Now, in Vegan Strong, which is the one that I'm reading, that you wrote, what do you want us to know about your experience as a vegan in your profession?
So, what it's like to be vegan and to be a registered nurse? Yeah, that I work on a cardiac ward, and most of the patients that I see are there by some kind of self-induced trauma. They literally ate themselves there. Some of them ate themselves there to the point where they're in a bariatric bed. They're morbidly obese, but most of them they just given themselves heart disease through their diet. And they've also given themselves diabetes and other things like that. Now, that's not to say that if you become vegan overnight, somehow you're going to cure your stage 4 cancer and you'll be able to fly and you'll, all these superpowers. Like, to be fair, while vegan is healthier for you, the planet, and for the animals, it's not going to always be able to reverse all the awful things that you've done to yourself for your entire life, you know? So I think when people expect too much out of it too, it's not that veganism failed them. Like they were like, oh, I had one vegan meal this week and now my sugars are still bad. How could it, you know, like be realistic, you know? Or if somebody who's eaten awfully for 65 years, they're like, today I'm just going to have one vegan meal. And they're like, oh, I'm still overweight. Like they expected to lose 30 pounds in a day or something. Like, I think veganism, you know, it is the best way to live that. Oh, we have something new. So true. People all the time at the hospital that aren't patients that are too much. Yeah, there is no hospital ward for like protein deficiency. I mean, there are people who are emaciated because they're shut-ins and they unfortunately their family doesn't feed them enough and stuff like that, and that's awful. But that's not the same, you know. That's not the same thing. No, we're, if anything, in America, we're victims of our own success in all the money that's here in this country and all the the cheapness of food. Food used to be not so cheap, so people would eat normal sized portions. Like, I mean, that's something that I think is worth mentioning, that if you eat a normal amount of food, it's going to have a lot of health benefits too. Even if you decide not to go vegan, which obviously I prefer that people go vegan for the reasons we've mentioned, but less bad food in your system is going to equal less damage to you.
Yes.
Because, I mean, when people go overboard, you could go overboard with almost anything. I mean, and you could do almost anything in the wrong way. For example, last I checked, Twizzlers and 7-Up were like Mountain Dew are vegan. And back in the day, we would eat stuff that's not necessarily healthy just as long as it didn't have animals in it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's not really healthy.
Yes. Yeah, and I know, like when I went vegetarian, pescatarian, and then vegan, I would sometimes, depending where I was, I would have a plate of French fries. Like that's not healthy, sorry to say, but I mean, I used to gobble it up because in some places there just weren't a lot of options.
I want to, if I'm not sure if he's still on, but give a shout out to Mark Mebus for creating Blackbird Pizza and helping to revolutionize.
He's in your book.
The Philadelphia vegan scene. It's amazing to, you know, that coming from a humble spot as a bunch of us being punk rock kids back in the day, you know, people like Mark were able to take those ideas and then a knowledge of food and be able to create something that I think really positively affected the entire world.
I agree. And I read your, interview, I guess you could say, with him in your book. And I was like, wow, that's so impressive, you know, and so early in the game, if you will.
Well, I mean, Mark's been vegan, I believe he's at more than 20 years as well. So while it might seem like, especially that most of the, you know, the improvements in vegan technology have happened in the last 5 years, or at least since, you know, diet cheese came out was a big milestone. I mean, I'm at 30 years. I'm sure Mark is way over 20. It's, you know, we've been doing this. I mean, I'm sure we were talking about this stuff in the 90s, you know? So it's new, but it's not, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the thing is, well, I've heard Philadelphia is quite vegan friendly. I don't know if that's an exaggeration or not, but I have heard it's very vegan friendly.
So I know we were talking about healthy stuff and all that, but putting all that aside, if our viewers are ever on the East Coast, it's worth going to a place outside of Philadelphia called Vegan Treats. Vegan Treats, it's world famous. And it's a vegan bakery that ships to both New York and Philadelphia. It's probably the most amazing stuff that you will ever have. That being said, if you're trying to, do the vegan is healthy thing,
Yeah.
avoid it at all costs, because you won't leave with anything less than a box of donuts.
Right, right. I think a sprinkling of vegan junk food is good. I mean, it's okay. That's how I see it.
Oh yeah, and I agree. Miss vegan treats. I miss vegan treats too, but I'm kind of glad that they're so far away. That it won't damage me. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I know
yeah.
there was a danger of this place, and it's not even all vegan, called Voodoo Donuts. Originally, they were talking about it and moving to Venice Beach. Now it's in Universal. But if they had a brick and mortar near me,
Yeah,
it would have been
temptation.
dangerous. Like, I can't
Yes.
avoid that vegan Portland cream donut. You know. Luckily, it's far enough that if I have to drive through traffic, I'm just not going to want it. So,
Yeah, that's the thing too. Yeah, that's the thing too. Like, accessibility can be a slippery slope.
you know,
I agree. So as we progress here in our conversation, I want to invite everyone to please continue to put your questions and comments down below for Bill. Thanks for joining. So Bill, let's talk about the topic of vegan men versus vegan women.
all
So
right.
I seen a statistic where apparently in the US, 80% or so of vegans are women and only 20% are men, supposedly. Not a statistic that I like hearing. So my
Hmm.
question to you is, what is your advice on approaching men about going vegan in order to kind of crack the code and to break the stigma that meat is manly and veganism is feminine and men need meat for muscles, et cetera, et cetera. What is your advice, please?
So I think movies like documentaries like Game Changers,
Yeah.
critical, and I think having more of us. So by us, I mean guys like myself, like the Vegan Strong team that I belong to, people that are going to be good role models for it.
Yeah.
Because when you have something that you could see, you could be it. Like John Lewis, badass vegan. People can see him, normal guy, obviously not protein deficient, packing on the muscle. They can say, "Oh, okay, I could be that." If you can't see it, if you can't conceptualize it, that you can't do it. If when on Earth we were like, "Hey, see that thing up in the sky, like the moon? Let's go to it." As long as people could see it, they could be like, "Oh, okay," And then someone wrote some science fiction, Jules Verne, about going to the moon. And someone made a movie about it, some goofy movie in the 1900s. And then 67 years later, unless you believe that the moon landing conspiracy nonsense, then we were able to go to it. Just in the same way that you can show somebody, hey, vegan is normal. Here's this show, Game Changers, and to talk about how gladiators back in the day, 2,000 years ago, were vegan.
Mm-hmm.
How
Mm-hmm.
you can be whether it's a weightlifter, a cage fighter, whatever, you can do it and be vegan. As long as you can see it, you can do it. And so I think more people, more guys stepping up and being positive role models. All that being said, I think we have to acknowledge, just like when people say, "Oh, vegan food is gross." Okay, all right. 30 years ago, vegan cuisine wasn't a thing. People would try to, throw vegan, gluten-free, and over healthing something up together, and might have made you a bad meal. And just in the same way, you might have gone 20 years ago to a veg fest and you see some hippies, and if you're a quote unquote normal guy, you're like, I don't want to be that truly smelling whatever. And we just have to acknowledge that was how a lot of people were. I remember even just 10 years ago going to a veg fest in Florida where, like, it was very much my background being punk rock, weightlifting, and military. I would have been like, oh, like my eyes would have rolled out of my head. These goofy hippies like trying to do an interpretive dance to explain animal cruelty. It looks like something that would be on a comedy show, but this is stuff people are doing in real life. Uh, yes, we should be tolerant toward all people, but we should also realize and recognize that image is very important. And
Yeah.
people have an idea of what they want to be. And when it's not in that, they're not going to be interested in it. So old school ideas of what masculinity is, yeah, some of it, like a lot of my more woke friends are going to talk about how it's important to not be a toxic male. Totally right. What it is to be masculine should be protecting people and not and protecting people who are not as strong as you and not trying to subjugate them or hurt them and conquer them. Totally right. However, in the image, if you're going to go into the deep south, where what is a guy, there has to be a pickup truck and a gun attached to it. None of that really has anything to do with animals. That's just an image. We need to have people who look like that, but then eat a cruelty-free diet, and also talk about how we're going to make the world a better place. Because when you have role models that look like you think you should look like, it's the same goes for communities with people of color. I think when what is vegan was just this Whole Foods kind of bushy ass white person, like it didn't carry through. It was just an other thing. Whereas when people realized, I think, oh, vegan is for everyone, no matter what you look like, no matter who you are, no matter what your gender, no matter what your race, no matter what your religious background, no matter what your social economic level, this is something we all need to be on, to be able to save the planet, and as far as other issues with that goes, I mean, if people think about, I don't know, what other thoughts do we have on that?
Well, I want to thank the person all the way in France who is dropping off because it's late there. So thank you so much for
Can I say
joining.
au revoir?
Bonne nuit, bon rêve et au revoir. Here we go. Rice and lentils, so vegan and yummy. I agree. Yes, now there's a bigger representation, not just tree hugging hippies. Great points. Always didn't fit into the early granola fueled environment. Showing compassion and protecting a being is so sexy. I agree. There we go. Yeah. So, in other words, what I'm picking up from what you're laying down, Bill, is that you are really putting the responsibility on the shoulders of the vegan guys to do this. In other words, be the role model, be the example, prove that it can be done, and that like you're saying, going vegan as a man doesn't mean that you are going to be emasculated or weak
No.
or right.
But it's
So
part of, I think the responsibility also lies on our movement in realizing that we have to be smart on how to package our movement.
yeah.
Because while, even while the hippie era, while, I'm sure there were some vegetarians, this was not packaged well for the mainstream. And we have to put as much as we would like to think. And, as a punk rock kid, I was like, well, of course, once I yell at somebody that meat is murder, they'll be able to, that steak I'm eating is murder. Oh, I shouldn't eat this anymore. And then they'll instantly go vegetarian or vegan, and then we'll all sing Kumbaya. No, it doesn't work that way. And I think our movement as a whole, given the fact that back in the day there wasn't any funding, so it was just younger people who were clueless on how to actually interface with the public about these issues. Every year, if you look at the early trends of the 80s and 90s, every year there'd be like 2 more people would go vegan and 3 people would stop being vegan, and that would be versus
1 step forward, 2 steps back. Oh,
exactly. Once we get into the internet age, where all this food exists and all these ideas are exchanged, it starts to get rocky. And then lately, it's been upward trend, and that's because I think Gen Z is going to be the greatest generation we've ever had. I know there's all this ridiculous Gen Z hate, and it's just basic nonsense. And yeah, I mean, as a member of Gen X, you know, there were some advantages being able to go outside and play, not having distraction from cell phones. There were no school shootings, or none that I was ever aware of. However, the problems that Gen Z faces are not because kids are weak or any kind of nonsense like that. It's because of all the stuff that they've grown up with. You know, the problems that my generation had were because of the stuff that our parents grew up with. And, you know, cycle back, cycle back. So I think Gen Z, it's going to be the greatest generation. They're going to start to, you know, not just be 10% vegetarian and vegan, but it's going to be 25%. And as that goes up and up and up, I think things are going to be just better and better and better.
Comment. Yes, we need more vegan male representation like Bill, Tori, John, Corin, James, Joaquin, Casey, Affleck, Nimai, etc. Yes, yes. There we go.
And what's crazy is, other than Joaquin, I've met all those guys, and but that's, I think, a problem with this. Like, there needs to be an exhaustive list of bigger name people, of like stuff that people could easily just pick out of the air. Like, for at one point, I know Batman and Spider-Man were both vegan. Like, Tobey Maguire's vegan, and Christian Bale at one point was vegan.
Okay.
I think the more, not just celebrities, but just, you know, just kind of, oh, hello from Peru.
Peru, hola, ¿qué tal?
Yeah, I have to hand it to you. You have definitely like a very international following.
Yeah, well, I don't know who they're following. I hope they're following both of us. Yes, this is awesome. I love seeing all of you from everywhere.
So I went to Machu Picchu in 2014.
Wow.
Absolutely amazing.
Oof, I haven't. I have been to Lima, but only in the city. I didn't get to Machu Picchu. I was there for work, so I didn't get to go.
You know,
it's amazing, right?
Yeah. Stupendous, awesome, incredible. Like, all those, you know, just awesome.
It looks like another planet.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The photos I've seen and the footage I've seen, it looks like it can't even really 100% even be on planet Earth. It's so amazing.
Oh, from Lima, yeah. For those that have never been to Peru, you have to go to a place called Cusco to go to actual Machu Picchu. And Lima is close, but you wouldn't be able to walk there, just in case you have to fly in to Lima, then you're in Lima for a bit, then I believe you take it's like a bus and then a train, and then then there's like a hike up Machu Picchu. But it's just magic. I believe that is accurate. I would put it on level with. Have you been to the pyramids yet?
No, it's on my list.
It's on par with the pyramids, in my opinion.
Wow.
Obviously, the pyramids are, might be amazing-ist, but Machu Picchu, because it's up on mountains versus, it might beat the pyramids in environment, whereas the pyramids, you're in the middle of Cairo, and yes, around the pyramids, it's awesome, but you don't have that same magical feel.
Yeah.
When you're going to it, once you get there, you're like, but the surrounding environs of Machu Picchu, it's just so good.
I've heard. So we have a comment. We need more men, and yes, those men heroes are vegan. We need more and more. Absolutely. Let's see. Alima, awesome. Magic, awesome. Majestic. I'm trying to catch up here on the comments. Put Ecuador and Galapagos on your list too. Yes.
I might have to just do that. And
Galapagos, I want to go. Sorry?
And Easter Island too, since mentioned Ecuador. While I was in the area, I remember this is the problem. I was like on a shoestring budget. I remember looking at it, and it was like $2,000 or something like that to get to Easter Island, and I cheaped out. I was like, that's a lot of beans and rice.
Yeah. I hear hear you. I hear you. Believe me, I have had my fair share of beans and rice. Hats off the beans and rice when I was a vegetarian pescatarian. I don't know if you know down south, but in Miami, in that whole Florida area, I guess, there's a chain called Pollo Tropical. And so I used to get the beans and rice and yuca in garlic sauce. And that was my meal because I didn't eat the meat part, as we call it. So yeah, that's for years. I would choose that option for when I went there.
Since you mentioned pollo, there is for any of our viewers who might have heard of it or might not, there's a chain in Texas called Project Pollo, which is basically a vegan Chick-fil-A.
Oh, interesting.
So I've seen a lot of vegan stuff over the last 30 years, and sometimes I've been impressed and sometimes I've been kind of It was very much like it looks, sometimes some of the things that vegans are missing in some of the restaurants where it just doesn't look official, like Project Pollo, it looks like you're in, Chick-fil-A or something like that, but it's all vegan. And
awesome.
Unlike most of the vegan spots that I know, unfortunately here in LA, it's like affordably priced, and it's a pretty popular spot, and there's a bunch of them. So yeah, I don't know if I would go to Texas just for that.
Right.
But
it's good to know.
To be in Texas and tell them I said hi, because I'll be doing a video review sooner or later. I'm way behind on publishing videos.
Yeah, and you can tell us a bit about that too. But I do want to say that I just learned something from one of our viewers here, that they now have vegan meat at Pollo Tropical. You see, I didn't even know that. So thank you for sharing that, because me as a person who had given up meat before going vegan, that was kind of my meal. It was just, I thrived on it. So awesome. And we're getting other people on board here. All right. So yeah, why don't you tell us, this takes us nicely over to your social media presence, first I want to know, please, what is your mission behind your Instagram page? And then we're going to also go to the content on your website. So in any order you want to take those, cool. Please.
My whole mission with this is to help rebrand vegan. I think for so long, and we were talking about this earlier, vegan was some kind of some weird thing that weirdos did, and not what it is in reality, which is vegan means you care about your health. Vegan means you care about the planet. Vegan means you care about animals. And that's all that vegan means. People, you can add whatever else you want to the mix. You could be a hippie, you could be a liberal, you could be a conservative, you could have short hair, you could have long hair, you could be whatever you want, but vegan just means those three things. And I think I wanted to kind of strip away all the extra propaganda and just deliver that message. And because I think yes, we have the East Coast, yes, we have the West Coast in America, and a lot of those cities happen to have a lot of vegans or people who are vegetarian or open-minded in it. But however, most of America, not necessarily the people, but most of the land is between those two coasts. Oh, earthquake in Peru right now. Well,
sorry to hear that. Sorry about that. Hope everyone's going to be safe.
Yeah. And anyway, I wanted to be able to address, that, and be able to help, kind of like we were talking about, giving a different image to what veganism is, because I really do, like I mentioned before, I think that Gen Z is going to be the generation that really kicks this up. But I think my time of being around, and me being a relevant whatever vegan influencer, I got another 10 years left or something like that. So my hope, my main goal, is to influence enough people from other generations who are really going to do that stuff. Because I really do think, and it's no stretch of the imagination, that we really, if we don't get this right now, our planet will suffer, and our society. I think a lot of our health problems are directly related to our diet, like we know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, first of all, I really hope, trust, and pray that you have way more than 10 years to make a
Oh,
difference.
no, 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 no. I'm saying, like, I I think that the most important time that we have to be able to make this positive
Oh,
change
we're
before,
running out of
you
time.
know, yeah, that it's definitely TikTok. And unlike maybe 300 years ago, where the populations were really low and we didn't have the global warming to the point we do now.
Mm-hmm.
I think things have just sped up and accelerated. I think this is the time to sprint, not just be like, okay, whatever happens, happens. So I think this is the time that at least for me and my mission, it's most important to be able to get out there and do this, and try to influence as many people as I can, and at least be part of that conversation. So that's all that the social media is about.
Yeah.
And it's cyclical.
Mhm.
I write books, I promote the books, I also promote veganism and people that I know that I think are helping this movement. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah, no, no, but I definitely agree with you. Like, um, in the sense that I also feel like we really don't have any time to waste. We really can't drag our feet. And that's why I understand why some people are what we call pushy vegans, or they're out there. And I will say, in support of people who are very vocal. I mean, we've seen huge changes in like the fur industry, and huge companies are like, ending their use of animal skins and animal furs and so forth and so on. So, they are making huge inroads, if you will, and lots of progress, I guess. And I will say too, in support of pushy vegans, that some people, they need more than a whisper. They actually need some kind of higher volume to penetrate the noise of media, propaganda, advertising, marketing, etc. I think a lot of us, including myself, I think some of us are just in a slumber. We're asleep, a lot of us. We're so basically indoctrinated by the mainstream lifestyle. So I do think that some people do respond to the pushier version. And I had someone say that actually two people say that the the way that the if you will, like the switch was flipped for them, was when someone basically said to them, well, basically cheese, for example, or dairy
Mm.
is really liquid meat. So sometimes, for example, we as people who identify as vegetarians, which I did in the past, we may think, well, yeah, well, we're not eating meat. But then, when you realize what's happening in the dairy industry and the egg industry, etc., um, it's basically liquid meat, really. And so I think that that's how some people kind of had their awakening.
Mm.
There's a comment here. Yes, pressure campaigns work. Don't give up. They say push is annoying, but guess what? It gets them talking. Interesting. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, I have mixed feelings, but yeah, I personally have kind of, softened quite a bit, because I love animals so much, quite frankly. And so but I know everyone doesn't feel the same way. And the kind of diet pathway seems to be more palatable for some people.
Well, I'm not just saying diet. I mean, I definitely believe that veganism isn't just a diet. It's an ethically way of living. I'm just saying, in my experience, the angry yelling stuff
Yeah.
hasn't seemed like it worked. But I have been proved wrong about everything every now and again. Smoking isn't healthy, but I've heard anecdotal evidence of somebody that smoked 5 packs a day. Who blah 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 blah. A marathon runner. Everything exists. But generally speaking, it's more important to get, in my opinion, get more people into just eating a vegan or a vegetarian diet than to get a few people who are strictly on it. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
And
Hmm.
the more that we could get people to reduce the harm,
Yeah.
that the less harm there's going to be overall. So I don't think maybe our big objective should be creating people just like us in our stamp, but creating more people who do less bad, and
Yeah.
then hopefully they'll be able to stumble into the other thing. At the end of the day, whatever approach you're going to do is the approach you're going to do. So I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure that people that when I mention this to them, some people agree, some people don't, and they're like, you know what, I know you talked about that hand jammed meat is murder sign. I totally disagree. I want more hand jammed meat is murder signs, and I think that's what works. Okay, I mean, that's not my opinion.
Yeah.
30 years of doing this, but I get it. And honestly, that's one of the things too about me wanting to influence the next generation. I'm positive that whatever ideas I have on doing this, they're going to take whatever ideas I had and run with this and create something that's going to be probably better, the same that I'm doing, but in kind of their own way that's going to be
Yes.
better. And some of it might be kind of more, full of piss and vinegar, kind of like, and if it is, then it works and saves the planet.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd be more than happy to eat my own words, as long as they're vegan.
Yeah, yeah. No, but you remind me of when people say we need more imperfect vegans than having a small number of perfect vegans. We need like more imperfect vegans. In other words, so we have roughly 8 billion humans currently. So let's say someone were to say we need 8 billion imperfect vegans
I like that.
compared to let's say a million or or I don't know, half a billion perfect vegans. So I definitely can see that because of obviously the numbers will make a bigger difference.
And I totally agree with this comment. I'm vegan thanks to the internet. I think it's been two things. It's been the internet spreading these ideas to people, and then the demand for vegan products. And then when the demand for vegan products goes up, when companies see, hey, there's a demand, well, heck, let's make more vegan products. And then the more vegan products there are, the more it's spread on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
The more people see it, the more people are like, yum. And I think that more than almost anything has been what's fueling this. So, as much as I wouldn't have thought this, I think the pictures of delicious food on Instagram and the people that are in shape, guys and gals, who part of them being in shape, they attribute to being vegan and part of that being their thing. Let's face it, if we say the old expression, sex sells, well,
Yeah.
hell, why
Oh
not
yeah.
use that to save the planet and the animals, make
Totally.
vegan sexy. And I'm glad that
Totally.
we're doing that because I think that's something that back in the day we had no concept of. We
Mm-hmm.
did not care about how it looked. We just wanted to yell at people, which, I mean,
Yeah.
I'm all about yelling at people, but it just didn't really have the desired effect. It just made us look crazy. Which when
Yeah.
we come off as crazy, unfortunately, it's usually going to have the opposite effect.
Yeah.
But then I agree too that making it inconvenient for people to sell fur coats, and that closed down those companies, and I love it. So
Yeah, yeah. I think different people react to different messages and different energies. That's been my experience. So this person said, yes, I'm vegan thanks to the internet. I lived in ignorance. I had no idea about the cruelty. I agree. We always head out with peace activism. Even when we do outreach, where we give free vegan food, we still get okay. People who wanna, yeah, talk about bacon. Yeah, so they're always saying, yeah, that's the way it is. Yeah.
and I think it's with people like that, you can't let yourself get wound up about that. it will not help your cause to get wound up about people who, the bacon people, because, think about it. The three main reasons that we talked about to be vegan are going to work with most people, not all people.
Right.
And if they don't care about those three things, they're probably either too selfish, too willfully ignorant, or, the whole reason to be vegan is not going to work on the 2 to 5% of the population who just does not care.
Yes.
And I don't care is a airtight reason to not be vegan or not to change. Because
Yes.
I don't care. You can't throttle the person to make them care. You
Yes.
can't inside their head and make them care. They're not going to care. And you just have to agree with them. You know what? I agree. You don't care.
Yeah.
And it's also,
I agree.
I don't think it helps to worry about it. Like, like
Yeah,
Patty,
ignore them.
you ignore them. I agree.
I agree with that.
Because there's nothing you can do to change it. This is, at the end of the day, this is a peaceful movement. So
Yes.
the only thing you would be able to do with that person is to pop them one, and we're not.
No.
So
No, we're not doing that.
You don't care. You don't.
No, and I honestly, yeah. Go ahead.
No, that's you have to let it go. But the good news is that's a very small percentage of the population, because most of everybody else cares on some level about those three things, and we'll be able to reach them. We just have to figure out the how.
Yes. And I honestly have made peace with this conclusion that you just drew, that some people just really are going to be a bit stubborn about it, and probably unshakable, and I've actually heard someone say in a clubhouse room, basically he knows all of this information. However, he has decided that he will consume animals until the end, because he even said he thinks that the world will go vegan. He himself does not want to do it. And so his in his mind, he's like, yes, I know it's going to happen. However, he's just saying, well, in his lifetime, he will continue to consume animals. And I thought, wow. The interesting thing was, he was not familiar with these documentaries like Earthlings and Dominion. And so when the suggestion was made for him to watch the documentaries, he agreed to go off and watch them. So I have no idea what happened after that, though.
To quote the Disney movie Frozen, let it go.
Oh, yeah. Totally. So that takes us then to tell us what do we need to know about your website? I know you're doing, for example, the food reviews and so forth and so on. What do you want us to know about what goes on your website, please?
So the website is more a feeder for social media. Most of my social media stuff is more current than the website. Website is just a landing page to send you to social media. SergeantVegan.com. That's SGTVegan.com. Once a week I do a video. I do post almost every day. I've been pretty consistent with that for now like 2 years. I went on tour last month. I did 7 states, so I still have videos that I'm posting of food reviews. Tomorrow, for anyone that wants a sneak peek, it's going to be Mimi's Twisted Potato in Little Rock, Arkansas.
Cool.
A vegan soul food place. I'm going to be posting a video.
Cool.
Amazing. I think the concept that we used to have, where vegan was just on the East Coast, vegan was just on the West Coast, and if you were in like a quote unquote red state, you're not getting, what are you going to do? Oh, woe is me, it's scary. No, there's lots of awesome things spread all over America, and I'm going to actually say the world.
I agree.
So yeah, I think it's only going to get better. I think as the years go on, I think it's going to become a thing where vegan is going to be an actual cuisine where people had Chinese food, Japanese food, Italian food. There's going to be vegan food. It's going to be a whole genre. And I mean, obviously for us, it's been there for years, but I think the rest of the world will get it, that it won't be such a, oh my goodness, this is a cupcake, but where's the butter? I think people will move beyond that. I mean, that's at least my hope. We'll see where that goes.
And they're looking for vegan butter. Believe me, people in my inner circle tell me, oh yeah, and we got some vegan butter. And I'm like, they were in my pom-poms, and I'm just so thrilled, you know. And you know, you are right. And I was lucky to travel quite a bit before the world did what it did 2 years ago. And I was starting to observe that people were going to vegan restaurants in a similar fashion what you were saying. Uh, I guess they're not vegan, and they would say, I mean, it was almost like they were saying, oh yeah, I feel, you know how people say, I feel like Chinese tonight, I feel like Italian tonight, I feel like pizza tonight. Well, it was almost like they were saying, well, I feel like plant-based or vegan tonight. Like, it was just so beautiful, you know, to see people who are not plant-based or vegan, you know, just munching on yummy vegan food. And I've spoken with, I heard from the co-owner of a very popular vegan establishment, and she said like over 80% of their clients are not plant-based or vegan. So it is like you're saying. I think, and it has become its own category because I've seen it on I don't know, you know, when they like classify restaurants and stuff like that. So yeah, we are our own we're our own category now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Publix has their own vegan cookies.
I
Yep.
haven't thought about Publix since I was on the East Coast.
Yeah. Well, they're very popular down in Florida. Oh,
Yeah.
and this is a new one. A man came up and asked her if they have vegetables in them. That's quite interesting. Well, I guess people associate vegan and vegetables. Yeah, I think that's really cool.
I mean, I get why people would associate vegan and vegetables, but I mean, I'm not 100% sure. Obviously, I wasn't there for the comment. I could see that just being someone trying to be a jackass, but
I know.
I can also see that I mean, there's also a possibility that someone could truly have that little understanding about how general baking works. Like, like obviously when people, and I'll still get those questions, and I'll say like, when you're eating a cookie, do you want to eat scrambled eggs? Like, no, you want to eat a cookie, you know, chocolate chip cookie, you want it to taste like chocolate. Like, so I mean, yes, it's plant-based. I mean, wheat, or if you're not doing the glutens, you'd find some, but turn for them positive. Yeah, I mean, people could. I think it's just very important to not be overly grumpy when people say ridiculous stuff.
Oh, I agree. We have a compliment for you. I love Bill's food reviews in different states. There you go, Bill.
Occasionally, like pre-pandemic, I was doing a lot of international stuff too. I'll probably eventually get back to that. I was thinking about going to Canada this year, but I don't think I'm going to do Canada this year.
I'm almost afraid.
I was trying to think of a good hook, but there's no good hook.
But the good news is that Canada is more and more vegan friendly. Yeah. So when you do get there, that will be awesome.
I am not Canada, as far as Canada, but I'll be doing a presentation at the American Vegan Society. We're still talking about it, but next month, I believe on the 12th, we were gonna. I have to send them some final stuff before they do their, start doing a little bit of publicity for it. But that's going to be next month. We're talking.
Nice. Hey, and also getting back to, you have an invitation. Come to Florida, Orlando, St. Pete, Tampa. So many options. Yeah, I heard.
Yeah, I used to live in Gainesville, and I never hated Florida. I mean, I used to surf, so surfing is awesome. Gainesville, they had a half vegan ice cream shop in Gainesville, Florida, and this was now 8 years ago. So Gainesville was very, very vegan friendly.
And the nice thing too, it's getting back, I think, to the whole Gen Z topic were talking about earlier. I think young people are just so much more progressive and so much more open-minded. And so I know Gainesville is known for like kind of being a college town as far as I
Oh
know
yeah.
too. And so I think, it's just so awesome. Like the college generation, they're just so much more open.
And Karma Cream. Yep, it was Karma Cream.
Wow, cool.
Karma Cream was awesome. I was a big fan.
Cool. So, Bill, you mentioned your book that is scheduled to come out in 2 months, roughly. Do you have any other projects? Yeah, it's going to be in 2 months. And you tell us again, for those who missed it earlier, what are some of, or I guess let me rephrase. Are there any future projects that you want to share with us at this time?
So the biggest one right now is my first vegan novel, Dead Meat. I'm hoping, and if for any writers out there, feel free to jump on the same idea, in that I'm hoping we have more and more representation in entertainment. Dead Meat, in my book, my dystopian horror, science fiction horror novel, is essentially just about veganism. But I think we need to have more representation in movies, and not even just it doesn't have to be a vegan movie, just that, hey, the hero or the hero's buddy happens to be vegan, they're drinking a soy latte.
Yes.
And because when you can see it, you can do it. Until you see it, it won't necessarily always come into your brain. Because, me and my buddy Mark and others like us were, you could say, and my friend Robert Cheek, you could say we were early, innovator, early in the game. We kind of like were innovators. We had those thoughts. But I think we too were just building on stuff that other generations had done.
Yeah.
But I think when we get this into people's consciousnesses, and then it just becomes such a normal thing, going back to what we were talking about chipping those stereotypes, or there being more vegan men out there, I think that's going to be crucial.
Yeah. I agree. I'm really glad you brought that up too. So I watch a lot of Netflix, and I have noticed in some movies that some of the protagonists, the main actors, are vegan. So that's good.
My buddy Hirokazu is on. Genki, これを見て一緒にこのライブをやってくれてありがとな。
Konnichiwa!
Sorry to go in that realm. So for everybody confused, my buddy here, under Vegan Pig, he has a vegan punk rock band in Japan, and he's been vegan. How long have you been vegan, Hirokazu-kun? I think probably 20 years too. And he runs. 何年間ビーゲンやってる？なんか20年以上でしょ？
お元気ですか？お元気ですか？
But I'm pretty stoked that we've had people from what? Now we're at Peru. Sorry, Peru,
England,
France,
the UK,
and Japan. 24年間ね. So he's been vegan for 24 years.
Oh, bless him.
I think that's pretty super rad that vegan is not just kept to a few countries, and that this is truly, we're moving beyond, what it is to be one thing or another to be something that's really going to be everywhere. And that probably didn't sound necessarily coherent, but basically these ideas of veganism or saving planet or whatever are not just kept to a few countries. And,
Yeah.
the internet has done away with all this gatekeeping nonsense. And where, Hirokazu-kun's been rocking this for 24 years, which, I mean, that super rules.
Arigato gozaimasu. We have a question. Novel, yes. Will it be available audio?
We'll see. As of now, until I get like an actual agent and stuff like that, it's anything that I do with my writing happens or doesn't happen because I do or don't do it. I work full time as an RN.
Yes.
And writing is my passion and something I care very much about. But like last night, I only worked 8 hours, but I still worked from 7 to 4 in the morning. And that stuff, like, obviously we're still dealing with the pandemic. Everybody's burnt out. So, but I realized there's so much that I want to do, and the time is, so short. I probably got another 50 something years left in me. And, if there's something I want to accomplish I should probably do it, sooner than later, and not like let things go to where I'm 60, 70, 80, 90, whatever,
It's never too late. It's never too late, Bill.
No, I agree. I'm just saying, so roundabout excuse to why things don't happen. It's only at this moment because it's like, if I do something, I do it. If I don't, it's just because it's competing with other activities that I'm trying to do.
So will you, so you know how a lot of us say, oh yeah, for example, I used to say, oh yeah, I'm going to read a lot of books when I retire. Like, so, I mean, now I know we have a Japanese person in our presence, and my understanding, I haven't gotten to Japan yet. It's on my list. However, my understanding is like that's not even really a thing in Japan for some people. Like, they just kind of just keep working, and the whole ikigai, which is such a beautiful concept and everything. But are you kind of semi thinking like maybe you'll kind of like get deeper into your writing when you retire? Because I know, again, like I've used that reason for other pursuits, shall we say.
I arguably have another 7 years working for the government left in me, till I can have like that bare minimum 20. I'm not planning on waiting till.
No.
For me, I don't see retirement as like now I sit on the couch and just collect a paycheck. I'm thinking that's when at least I have a bare minimum amount of money coming in where I can feel like I have the safety net to make bigger mistakes and bigger, gamble
I agree.
more with what I'm doing.
I agree. Take more risks.
But, I've heard, if you go on TikTok or Instagram, you can watch a billion videos where people are like, it's not about whether you gamble or not to, make that jump to do your own thing, to do what really makes you happy. People have said like, but it's, if you're currently doing something that sucks, like, why would you do it? To that, I would argue, I've been a starving artist, and I have plenty of starving artist friends. That shit sucks. Like, I don't want to make that decision between do I eat or do I have, do I do this anymore? Like, but that's also like, I've done that like suck it up thing through college. I did it part of while I lived in Japan for a while. Obviously, part of the military was very similar to that, where like, it's not that food is scarce, it's that vegan food is scarce, and then I don't know. Maybe I'll get brave and go all in with writing and doing what I really want to do. And until then, I mean, I get to do something that at least is makes the world a better place. Getting to help veterans, getting to be there for them. So I think it's worthwhile. Whether obviously I would prefer to be all in on writing and doing this, and maybe it'll happen in the future. I don't think anything in life is set in stone until you're gone.
I agree. We have a comment. We travel a lot for activism, so audios are great for us. That makes total sense. Yeah, I can appreciate that. Yeah.
I would definitely, because I've gone through the book many times. I would love to read it,
Yeah.
especially making the voices for those characters.
Yeah.
I think that would be pretty amazing. So I mean, that's so it's possible. I would just have to figure out. I since currently I'm going through the Great Satan Amazon to publish. I don't know if they have an audiobook, so I would have to figure that out. Uh,
Yeah, I'll message you after. I have a few. I only do ebooks. I have a few ebooks on there, and my understanding is, for example, for people who are visually impaired, there is some type of audio capability that I've seen, like on the screen there. So I will have a look and see if I can message you something after.
oh, retired veteran, thank you very much for your service, and thank you for going vegan.
Oh my gosh, this is the happiest they've ever been. How
That's awesome.
beautiful. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. Okay, they got Ed's book. Okay, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, Ed is amazing as well. Very inspiring. So are there any other future projects that you want to mention at this time, Bill?
No, just I mean, I'll be putting out numerous books, um, for better or worse. This is far from the end. Um, for better or worse, because if the vegan thing, or obviously it's probably I'm gonna do a whole bunch of different stuff. I'm excited. I'm planning on, not obviously with Dead Meat is going to be my dystopian science fiction novel.
Mhm.
After that, I'm thinking about doing a book about my time in Japan.
Ooh, nice.
So we shall see. I think it'll probably be based. I'll see how well Dead Meat goes, and we'll see if I go back into fiction or not.
Right, right. Well, fiction is huge. So I think there are like endless possibilities. I really
Oh
do.
yeah, and seeing how the field opened up with Netflix and streaming, and the need for content.
Totally.
I mean, I would love if somebody was like, "Hey, we want to make a series about, or a movie based on your book." I mean, that would be amazing. I'm mostly because I would love to see like those ideas get out there, and to kind of hopefully shock and rattle a few people into going vegetarian or vegan. Whether it works or not. I think we can't always, just like, well, I did talk about how I don't think the whole angry yelling vegan really works. I don't necessarily think we can always worry about how people take things.
Yeah.
I mean, not to say don't be mean, don't be offensive, don't
No,
do that, but
no.
some people are always going to take things the wrong way. I had a patient who was angry at me last night for no reason, and that's just because he was an angry dude, because he had had awful things happen to him, and now and he had a stroke, and he was not in a good spot, and most people aren't. I've met a few people in my life, that like 90-year-old fully with it, dying of cancer painfully, who's able to like be completely like saint-like, and not be a jerk to you. But most people, if they stub their toe, they're going to be angry at life.
So we
Um,
have yeah, go ahead.
and so yeah, we really can't worry about every last thing. Bill, do you know about Jane Unchained TV? I do know Jane, and I know that they're starting up they just started
Yes.
a
Yeah.
streaming platform, which
Yes.
that would be interesting if we had the money to be able to make Deadbeat into a series for that. Well, I mean, I would be stoked for anything that comes with that. Oh, and hello from Dallas, Texas. I think I was on Dallas TV
Hmm.
pre-pandemic. Not think I was.
Awesome. Yeah,
And
I've seen Texas is becoming much more vegan
yeah,
friendly.
if it serves me correct, there's a I can't remember the name, but there's a vegan restaurant that I really, really, really love in Dallas.
I heard Austin is quite vegan friendly.
Austin is. Austin, well, I mean, it's been pretty good for a while. You know, I think last time I was there, it was 2 years pre-pandemic, 2019. And it is pretty good. It's funny, and then this was the thing about being like, in this movement for so long. I remember going through there in the 2010s, 12s, and it was kind of meh.
Yes.
Like I think I remember liking Philadelphia better. And it's crazy because that's obviously Austin now is way blown up, but it was, yeah, at that point it was kind of like, yeah. Now it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, we have someone saying, yes, we are. Austin is great. So I guess we're in Austin.
Weirdly, so I was supposed to speak at the Austin Veg Fest last time I was there, and I think that was 2019, but it got rained out. And so I went with the expectation of, going to the Veg Fest and talking to other vegans, and that was my expectation. I did a TV spot, but that was it. But then the Veg Fest got canceled, so then I hung out with a veteran friend of mine. So we went and shot guns and argued about politics because he's a really big Trump dude. And it was such a weird, like, I thought my weekend was going to be and what my weekend actually was. I mean, hanging out with him was awesome. I mean, minus the arguing about Trump. And I got him to eat some vegan food, and I think he was like, actually, to his credit, he was open-minded, and he was like, oh, yeah, this is good.
Awesome.
But I really wasn't, of all things, I just wasn't expecting to be at a rifle range. I was expecting, to be talking to people about veganism.
Yeah, the opposite of that, right?
It was pretty opposite.
So we have a comment. I bet it was Spirals in Dallas.
Yes.
Can you be a little bit more excited, Bill? Just a little bit.
They had a milkshake that was like out of this world. And I know it's ridiculous. And I
love your excitement.
I know I could go into my kitchen right now and make a milkshake. It's just not the same. Milkshakes are something that you have to go to a place, and it needs to be one of those, like, needs to be in a milkshake glass for it to be.
Nostalgia. So they're saying Dallas and Austin are the main places for everything vegan. Yeah, I've heard Austin in particular. Very cool. So now that we've gotten over that excitement, so Bill, tell us please, where are the best places for people to contact you for information, collaboration, questions, etc.?
Well, thank you very much for asking. Well, I'm very easily findable. As anyone who has been watching this knows, sergeantvegan.com, that's sgtvegan.com. Yeah, easily, contactable, or you could follow me on Instagram. I'm also on the Facebook on the same thing. Facebook, some people follow me exclusively on that, some on Instagram exclusively, but I usually just, anything that goes to the Facebook, for anyone who hasn't figured it out, it's just carryover from what I posted on Instagram.
Right.
So I don't usually manage that. I have some special button push that if I make like today's post, it went to both, and I didn't really have to do anything else. And luckily, I figured out how to do that, because when I didn't, it was annoying to have to be like
both
and do both, and anything to cut it down. Because if you're doing this every day, as everybody probably knows, I don't want to just have something boring on there. I want to have something relevant that's interesting and eye-catching, and helps shake stuff up and start a conversation. That could be a little bit of work. Usually I'll put in sometimes even up to an hour just to figuring out what's the best thing. And sometimes I have the video already picked out in advance for tomorrow, and sometimes I'm a couple days ahead, up to a week ahead of stuff. Luckily, I have videos through the next month or two already picked out, and so So yeah, follow me along for the ride. Coming up, I'm going to be going to the Fit Expo with the Vegan Strong team next weekend. Then next month, like I mentioned, doing that Philly. I'll be in Philly at the American Vegan Society, which, for anyone that doesn't know, the American Vegan Society is actually headquartered in Philadelphia, and they have a vegan tour of Philadelphia, which is amazing. And I'm currently talking to Delaware Veg Fest about speaking at their Veg Fest in September. We'll see if that comes together.
Awesome.
Much
So
more
in
on the
other
way.
words, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Awesome. So, Bill, before I ask you for your final thoughts to wrap this up and put a bow on it, please, I want to thank you so very much for coming on and chat with us. I want to thank everyone who joined us, either live or on the replay. And so, Bill, and all of your great energy there in the chat. I love that. And
That's correct.
so,
That will be with Robert Cheek.
awesome, awesome. And so, Bill, what are your final thoughts for us, please, to just wrap this up and put a bow on it for us, please? Thank you.
Go vegan, stay vegan strong.
There we go. That was a strong finish, Bill. No pun intended. Pun intended.
Boom.
That was a strong finish. Vegan strong. All right, so Bill, again, thank you so much. I'm going to save this to IGTV, my stories and live, my stories and my feed, and then I will message you after.
Sweet.
All right. So thank you, Bill. Thanks, everybody, and take good care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks. Bye-bye.